years ago, I knew zero Spanish. None. But now, I know more than 2,000 words. So, how did I do it? I started learning Spanish in high school, and we were bombarded with flashcards in our classes. Every week, we were learning 30 to 50 new vocabulary words and writing them down on 3x5 cards. Some weeks we were writing the word on one side and an image on another, or having English on one side and Spanish on the other. The point is, we were learning lots of new vocabulary, writing it down, studying it, and then being quizzed on it at the end of each week. If you're not currently using flashcards to memorize new Spanish words and phrases, you are seriously slowing down your learning speed. But you need to follow some rules if you want these flashcards to be the most effective. Rule number 1 is to use a spaced repetition system, or an S.R.S. All this is a fancy term for flashcards. These are like flashcards on steroids. Now, I personally never used them when I was learning Spanish, but I wish I had known about them, because if I did, I would have 100,000,000% used these. Basically, let's say you know a word quite well. This system will show you that word in a day, and then a week, and then a month, and then a year. But the less you know a word, the more often it's going to be showing it to you. These are seriously like magic. I'm currently using these to learn Mandarin Chinese, and it is helping a lot. Now, I personally use the free software called Anki. It's free on the computer. I believe you have to pay for it on mobile, but these are seriously so awesome. Extremely useful. Now, the second rule is to write down or type out your own flashcards. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, the act of writing something down or typing it out really gets it in concrete in your brain. Of course, you can use a pre-made set, and these are honestly way more convenient. But in my opinion, if you want to learn the words faster and memorize them much easier, you should be writing down your own flashcards. And the final rule is to study these flashcards every day. I know that kind of goes without saying, but seriously, learning Spanish, especially new vocabulary, is like using a muscle. If you don't use it, you're gonna lose it. Why do you think everyone who takes high school Spanish forgets everything? It's because we stop using our Spanish muscles, and so we forget. Don't study words that you're never going to use. Literally, just go online and look up 1,000 most common words. There is seriously a website called 1000mostcommonwords.com where you can see the 1,000 most frequently used words in Spanish. Check out this list, create your own flashcards of this list, spaced repetition flashcards, and study them. Now, the other trick is to make sure that you smash the like button on this video and also subscribe if you haven't already. Te quiero mucho. Okay, so now that you've learned and memorized these new words and phrases using a spaced repetition system, what are you going to do with all of this new knowledge? Well, I highly recommend that you only use Duolingo from this point on, lock yourself in your room, and never speak to anyone in Spanish, because it's extremely scary, and I can almost 100% guarantee that anytime you go and try to speak to someone in Spanish, a real human being, you're going to pee yourself. Personally, every time I try to speak Spanish with someone in the real world, I do pee myself, almost guaranteed. No, but seriously, now that you have all of this knowledge, you need to be using it into the real world. You need to immerse yourself. But how do you do that? Well, the 3 best ways to immerse yourself in the Spanish language are by speaking Spanish, listening to Spanish, and reading Spanish. Practice the specific new words and phrases that you've learned with friends, family, random strangers, yourself. Honestly, I used to speak to myself in Spanish all the time when I was showering. I still do, but that's besides the point. You gotta be listening, okay? Listen to podcasts, music, movies, whatever. Immersing yourself through audio is going to be the easiest way to immerse yourself, because you don't need another human to do it. You can just look up your favorite songs and listen to them, or your favorite podcast, or what have you. And lastly, read easy books. So you see the new words that you're learning in books, and the more and more repetition you're getting, the more and more you're going to know the word, and the more and more you're going to remember them. So now you know how to learn thousands and thousands of new words in Spanish and actually remember them. So let's recap. First thing is to use an S.R.S, a spaced repetition system. Personally, I use Anki, and it works great. Second is to study the most frequently used words in Spanish. And finally, make sure you're immersing yourself so that you solidify your knowledge. Muchas gracias por ver este video. Si quieres aprender más español conmigo, puedes en mi sitio web SpanishWithNate.com. Bueno, muchas gracias y nos vemos. Adiós.